So the big question is this: how do you lose all the weight that you want and actually keep it off for the rest of your life, while trying to make sense of all the noise that comes from the weight loss industry? That is the question. And this podcast will give you the answers.
G'day guys, and welcome to the next episode of the Weight Loss Secrets podcast. My name's Baron Grant, and I'm excited to have you with me today to share some tips and tricks and ideas that are going to be able to help you to lose all the weight you want and keep it off for the rest of your life. And as always, we're brought to you by Ditching the Diet. So if you want some more info on how you can do that and get some assistance on that journey, including meal plans and structure and coaching and all that sort of stuff, you can get that at ditchingthediet.com, or you can even book a call with me and we can have a chat on the phone. So with all that said, I am at a different location today, and I thought I'd just do it a bit different rather than sitting in my office all day. Because I tell you what, sometimes I get sick of sitting in my office. I spend a lot of time in my office on the phone. It's nice to get outside. Today, it is just before 8 a.m. and I am sitting at my son's cricket game. He hasn't started yet. He's just warming up, getting ready to go. And it's a little cooler outside today, even though it was like 37 degrees yesterday. So I thought I'll stay in the car and do this before I go out and have a bit of a wander. But today, I wanted to chat about mindless eating and mindless drinking. And I thought about this today because as I was coming to cricket, I thought, what food do we take to cricket every day, every Saturday morning? Because this is not like going to a basketball game, right? When you're at cricket, you're here for a number of hours, right? So we're at cricket, and most people will bring snack food. So most people would have, rice crackers and chips and barbecue shapes and all that type of stuff. And it just made me think, how much time are we on automatic pilot when it comes to our food? And I think we're on automatic pilot a lot when it comes to food, and not just food, but drink as well. How often do we just eat the things we eat simply because that's what we've done for years? And how often do we do the things we do simply because that's what we've done for years? Or drink the things we drink because that's what we do? So today I wanted to have a think about that. I wanted you to think about, what are you mindlessly eating? I hear the term all the time, we need to mindfully eat or be mindful in our eating. Now, as you probably guessed from my other videos or seen from my other videos, I'm a pretty straight shooter. And when people talk about mindful eating, I think it's too wishy-washy and almost like hippie woo-woo. Where you got to eat mindfully. Well, you got to eat the right stuff. So yes, you got to think about the foods that you're eating. But the broad brush of just being mindful is kind of, it's kind of meaningless. So thinking about what we put in our mouths is really important, and having a plan for what we put in our mouths is really important. So I think I just want to share an example of mindless eating or drinking. Now, this may offend some people, and when I talk about this with people on the phone, they do get a little shirty. And that's coffee. So I talk to people all the time about coffee. I've got some strong views on coffee and how it's not helpful for weight loss, and I'll talk about that in a whole separate podcast. But one point about coffee that is a challenging thing. When we are mindlessly putting things in our mouth, we're putting coffee in our mouth, because coffee is this weird sort of social phenomenon in Australia, and particularly in Melbourne, where I talk to people and they say, I can't start the day without a coffee. I can't, Baron. I can't do it. And I always say to them, what are you talking about? That is utter rubbish. And they said, some people do get upset with me. And it's funny, we have a bit of a laugh on the phone about it, because people take their coffee drinking it's quite precious. But I want you to think, does our body need a coffee? No. Why do we do it? We do it because I don't do it. I've never had a coffee in my life, so it's easy for me to sit on the side and point. But that we don't need it because it contains no nutritional value that's going to be really helpful for our bodies. But it's so socially acceptable, and people have conditioned their bodies to believe that they need a coffee in the morning. So therefore, the body effectively will ask for it, and they just give it. And that's the problem, because our mind is not in control then of what we're putting into our mouth. It's habitual. And so at 9 o'clock, people need to have a coffee. At 12 o'clock, they have a coffee. At 4 o'clock, they have a coffee. At 8 o'clock, they have a coffee. I remember one lady I started working with, she was drinking 8 to 10 coffees a day, right? So she was a slave to coffee. Now, if you want to get in control of your food, you have to control, and this is where you do need to be mindful. You've got to be thinking about what you put in your mouth. You can't mindlessly put things in your mouth just because you like them or your body craves them. And the craving always goes away. Like, I work with people and they don't drink coffee for a little while, most of them, and after 3 days they're not craving coffee anymore or having big headaches and stuff like that. But it's interesting that we think we need something because that's the process that we've created over a longer period of time. So if you feel like your body is needing something when you wake up in the morning, like a coffee, or it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you need a chocolate, it's whatever time, and you're like, I just have to do this because that's what I always do. That's a sign that we need to change it, because we need fuel for our bodies as opposed to just mindlessly shoving things in because our body demands it. And if our body is demanding it, it probably means that we're lacking nutrition somewhere else in our diet. I had someone say to me just the other day, Baron, if I'm getting pretty hungry at this point or this point in the day, can I increase my snacks or eat more snacks or whatever it is? And I said, look, I'd prefer you to increase the amount of foods you're eating so that you don't need those snacks. Eat more food. And if it's the right food, you can eat loads of it. So I just want us to think about not being mindless in the way that we consume food. So if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. That is one of the truest statements in the world. If you want to feel different in your body and you want to change, then you have to make change. And you have to think about what you're putting in your mouth. You can't just put the things that you like or the things that you want. So coffee is just an example of that because it's so habitual, like it's almost timed. People get up at 7 a.m, bang, 9 a.m, and so on and so forth. But I want you to think about today, the takeaway for me today is what foods and what drink are you mindlessly putting in your mouth? It may not be coffee, right? It may be at 8:30 at night, the kids are gone to bed, and it's time for your corn chips and salsa. Or it's time for your cheese and bickies, or it's time for your ice cream that maybe nobody else sees, right? But it's a habit that you've created. It might be, when you turn on a particular TV show, you turn on that TV show and that triggers your thinking to go, bing, I need this drink. I need this hot chocolate. I need this, what is it? So we're like, there's that whole story about Pavlov's dogs, and when the light goes on, this happens, and the dogs start to salivate, and when the food comes out, this happens. So their brains are wired and programmed, these dogs, to do certain tasks when certain triggers are set. And we do the same thing as human beings. Triggers happen, and we do certain actions. So it's no different for us, but are certain actions in your life triggering you to eat things or drink things? So mindlessly we're doing it, or almost on automatic pilot. So today, I want you to go away. I want you to think, what's that thing that I'm doing all the time that I give no thought to, and I just keep shoving it in my mouth at a certain time in the day, or at a certain, in the morning when I get up in the morning? What's that automatic thing that's I probably know is not real healthy, but I'm mindlessly doing it? And it brings me back to my point as well about what do people bring to cricket to eat? What do we all bring to cricket to eat? And it's those snacky type foods. When we're more mindful, there's my little hippie word again, when we're more mindful, what I'm talking about is more prepared. So if we're more prepared, we're going to get the right food ready to bring with us wherever we need to go. On your morning ritual on Saturday mornings if you go on a sport and things like that. So that's my thought for today. Go away and have a think about what you're mindlessly shoving in your mouth, and can you change it? Can you improve it? Can't wait to chat with you tomorrow. You got this.